Hi, I'm Shawn with Matucci's Restaurants, and today we're going to work on building a charcuterie board with what we call here the family board. It's usually enough for 2 people to have a really big meal or 4 people to have kind of a light snack. So let's get started. Big thing about building these boards is not overcomplicating it, just let the food kind of being the food. So we're going to start with the salami. One we use is called a calabrese. It's from southern Italy, from Calabria specifically, and it's kind of like the grandfather of pepperoni. It's got a little bit of heat to it, nothing too spicy. Most people from New Mexico have had a little bit spicier, so it's not too crazy, but just enough to kind of excite the palate. And so there's a couple things you can do when you're building these boards. One, you can take the salami, do cool little folds like that, and do lines. If you want to get really fancy, you can just take it, fold it into quarters. Repeat that step over and over. And by doing that, you can actually create like a little salami roast. You do about 5 of those. So it kind of depends on how fancy you want to get. We'll get a little bit playful over here. And just kind of the cool idea whenever you're building like a charcuterie board for anyone, the best thing to do, honestly, the best thing to do is pour a glass of wine first and then let that take you where it goes. But it's just kind of let the food, like I said, be itself. There's different shapes and colors and heights, and as long as you just kind of let that happen, you'll end up with a really cool looking board. Alright, leave those there. So that was a calabrese. Next we're going to go to our prosciutto. So this is prosciutto that we bring in from Italy. Prosciutto is the back leg of the pig, kind of like a dry cured ham. Super buttery, a little bit nutty, really, really good stuff. And honestly with prosciutto, I'm just going to let it kind of fall and let it do its own thing. So now we kind of got a couple of lines started, and that's kind of also giving us a bit of a border for some of the rest of the ingredients. So next thing we have here is we have 2 different types of Italian olives that we roast with garlic, orange, and a little bit of fresh thyme. So we'll just kind of put those in that little line. That way if you're carrying it around and the board starts to tip or you get a little tipsy yourself, they're not going to roll off because you have the meats kind of keeping them centered. Next thing we're going to do, we have our aged Gouda. So this is called Paradiso. It's an aged Gouda that was done more in the style of a Parmesan, so you're going to get little crystals in it. Really good, kind of salty, kind of crunchy little crystals, and that's just from like calcium and salt deposits that build up. So you can kind of already see we've got a couple of little lines going here, different colors, different heights, different textures. Next thing we're going to go with is one of my personal favorites. It is our colonnata butter. So this was something that we saw in the town of Colonnata, where they are super into whole hog cookery. And so this is a semi-cured, spreadable herb pork fat. And it's really cool for like nose to tail kind of thing. And it just adds a little bit of umami to the whole board. What pairs really well with that is we have our rotating shrub jams. So some of you may know we have our shrub cocktails that we do at the restaurant, which is basically macerated fruit and vinegar in a cocktail. So we just took the fruit and made a little jam out of that. The acidity from the jam and the richness of the colonnata butter work really, really well together, so I like to put those close to each other. Then we're going to have our house-made fresh mozzarella. So this is a whole milk mozzarella that we pull. We're pulling about 200 pounds a week right now. So it's definitely super fresh, which is kind of the nice thing about it. And just by like following the initial line, remember we started with the salami, and that was kind of the starting point. Kind of building around all that, getting our board. Then we have our house-made sourdough bread. I just did a quick toast on this. If I'm at home, I use a cast iron comal or like tortilla warmer to toast the bread. I think it works really well like that. You just kind of lay that around, and that's your little vehicle to eat all the good stuff on there. And then there will be some balsamic reduction, mostly just for the mozzarella itself, but if you want, you can get a little playful, go all over the board. It works really well on everything. It adds a little sweetness and a little acidity. And then we're going to do a little cracked pepper. It's always good to get fresh cracked for the cheese. And then the last thing we will do is olive oil. All right, and this is our family board. Cheers.